Welcome into NBA Now. Yes, NBA Now. I am Tom Downey from Chat Sports. The NBA playoffs are underway. The offseason will be here before you know it. The draft lottery is a week away. So if you want even more NBA videos moving forward from us here at Chat Sports, show us you do. Like the video right now. The more likes we do, the more likes we get, the more NBA videos we'll do here at Chat Sports. Let's get into the latest on the NBA. As the playoffs move on, there are still plenty of NBA teams who are already in off-season mode. We'll begin with a team in the off-season and one still in the midst of the playoffs. That is the future of James Harden. As Mark Stein, who of course used to work for a variety of NBA publications, now seems to just do his own Substack. He has linked the Rockets and Harden. Again, I would say this is not necessarily a shockingly new rumor or whatever. Harden has been playing, I think, pretty well for the Sixers in the playoffs so far. There have been some games that are rough, even in this series against the Celtics, but he was awesome in their most recent game against Boston. We'll see how the rest of the games coming up soon end up going. The Rockets, per Mark Stein, I think pretty logically, looking to make a splash this offseason. And the reunion between Harden and Houston isn't exactly a new rumor. That one's been linked for, feels like, over a year now. Harden is probably not the guy that he was. In fact, I think we can drop the probably. He's not the guy that he was at his absolute best when he was an MVP caliber player, dropping 30 points a night, 35 points a night, but a veteran presence who can still be a double-digit machine, a 21-10 player on pretty solid efficiency, 38.5% from deep, and is playing even better, scoring-wise, in the postseason. Well, that's got value, and it particularly has value to a Rockets team that is very young, very talented, but still doesn't really have that locked-in veteran leader necessarily. It's a very young squad, right? Look, KPJ's got talent. Şengün, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, even Kenyon Martin Jr. has been playing pretty well. Christopher Eason, that's Josh Christopher, Tari Eason have good bench talent there. Adding Harden gives them the veteran leader that they don't have. Maybe it gets better results, maybe it gets worse results, but the Suns didn't have that vet leader until they got Chris Paul. Hopefully James Harden not as a constant lock to unfortunately get hurt in the postseason. But Harden would be a good veteran presence for a team that should once again have a premium draft pick, whether it's Victor, whether it's Scoot or Brandon Ingram, whoever it ends up being. The Rockets should have plenty of pieces. Adding James Harden, it could help them be a very real playoff contender as soon as next year. Harden can opt out of his contract. That's the assumed outcome since he took less for the Sixers this past year. But where will James Harden play next season? Could still go back to Philadelphia. Like if they win the Eastern Conference, tough to see him leaving, right? Where will Harden play next year? It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and make those predictions right now. Start Jordan Poole and some media outlets, but mostly Warriors fans, are just not happy right now with Jordan Poole. And how can you blame them? Who for most of this year was an electric guard, has been bad in the playoffs. The Warriors gave him 10 minutes in Game 4. They basically benched him. He was like their ninth man in that game. For a 20-point-per-game scorer, that's kind of unheard of. Poole is clearly frustrated right now. And I think there is some very real tension between Poole, the Warriors, other players. Like it's not going well right now in Golden State. And when the aspirations are championship or bust, when you're trending towards bust, tends to happen that way. Jordan Poole, with apparently a small visitors locker room for the Lakers game, and he just drew some maybe eyebrows when he said this. It's my shot. I don't know. If I knew, I would tell you in terms of why he's been struggling. My work ethic doesn't change. My routine doesn't change. Maybe opportunity changes, but you can only control what you can control. Don't know about that one there, Jordan, because he was really good in the regular season. Not the most efficient player, but he was averaging 20 points per game. He was getting buckets in bunches. Against the Lakers through 4 games, oh no. 8 points per game, was basically benched in this most recent one for guys like Moses Moody, Dante DiVincenzo. And there's been rumblings of some of the other Warriors bench players aren't happy with their roles, which best way to be happy with your role, win basketball games. Golden State's not winning basketball games right now. The real issue here is the contract as well for Jordan Poole, which we will get into in a moment. But if you're the Warriors, you got to start making some changes, I think, to your roster, which tends to happen every year, especially in the NBA. There's so much player movement. Would you trade Jordan Poole? Y for yes, N for no in the comment section. Golden State's got some interesting contract situations here. Steph and Klay, still worth every penny, making big money this upcoming year. Jordan Poole is in next year of a 4-year, $128 million contract. He'll count $28.7 million. Oh, by the way, up until after the draft, there is a poison pill in his contract, making him basically untradeable, at least to begin. Draymond Green's got a player option. We'll see if he opts in, opts out. Wiggins actually looks pretty good right now relative to Jordan Poole and Draymond Green, but that is not... It's not great for Golden State. Hopefully Jordan Poole can right the ship because Golden State's locked him into a long-term deal. He kind of need to start playing well and not be a 10-minute. Imagine paying $28.7 million to play 10 minutes in the playoff game. That's bad. That cannot continue for Golden State and for Poole. And we will have more NBA coverage coming for you guys soon. The draft lottery on Tuesday. We will be live for it. We'll have some fun on that one. So make sure you are subscribed. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Free videos, all NBA offseason/playoffs long. Let's head to another team out of the playoff race. The Detroit Pistons will actually wrap up our last two stories here. One kind of, sort of. The Pistons are literally down to 3 finalists for their head coaching search. Kevin Ollie, Jarron Collins, and Charles Lee. The Pistons, I would say, have a very, very talented roster. As we'll get into, there's a lot of promising young playmakers and scorers and bigs on that roster. This is an interesting group. You have Dwane Casey, former NBA head coach. You often go in a different direction. I think Charles Lee gets a job somewhere. The Bucks, of course, are an obvious fit for him. He's been a finalist for a lot of gigs. That would make sense. Collins, Pelicans assistant. Okay. Kevin Ollie. Bruce Patrick, you're excited. Why? No. Why? Go UConn. Well, we've been going. We're talking about Kevin Ollie, who's the G League Ignite coach or whatever. Or G League coach down there. Like, Kevin Ollie getting what really amounts to an NBA head coaching job because of what he did at UConn 5 years ago? 6 years ago? Like, he had the championship in 2013, 2014, and then went under 500 2016, 17, 18. Like, we're talking about almost a decade-old success for Kevin Ollie being why he would be the head coach for the Pistons. Former UConn head coach. I might have misspoke. He is the overtime elite head coach, which, like, okay. It's a really weird finalist for the Pistons. Who do you think, in the end, they end up hiring? Sound off in the comment section. How do you want them to hire? Who do they end up hiring? Sound off in the comments right now. We will stay in Detroit. A very uncommon sentence. I'm sorry, Pistons fans. That was mean. I really had no reason. Let me be nice to you. They've been linked to Dillon Brooks per Mark Stein, which I don't necessarily hate. Look, Dillon Brooks, a month ago, plenty of value as kind of a 3-and-D wing, maybe a little bit less on the 3, more on the D side. That's fine. Dillon Brooks kind of tanked his own stock, and he talked a lot of trash towards LeBron and the Lakers, and then he in particular, but also Memphis as a team, completely failed to back it up. They laid a pretty big egg there, but I also don't want to blame only Dillon Brooks for that. That's the culture in Memphis. That is what they've been. So for Memphis, say we're not going to bring him back and kind of scapegoat him, I don't think it's necessarily fair in the end. And for Detroit in general, I kind of really like this team. Now, they're not there yet. They need time. They got to get this hire right. They got to grow, stay healthy, looking at you, Cade Cunningham, and develop some pieces. But Bogdanovich is a nice vet. Wiseman, Duran, Stewart, and Bagley. 2 of those guys can be good. Imagine if they get Victor Wembanyama. They're probably not, but imagine. Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham is a really good guard duo if they're both healthy. Dillon Brooks as a 3-and-D player, as whether it's a starter at small forward or just the backup wing, that's actually pretty good. Now, you kind of got to dial him in a little bit. Maybe don't sit there and next series you play for the Pistons, start talking about how Donovan Mitchell's a bum. Like, let's just chill a little bit there. But if you can get him, I think his headspace back right. I don't think he handled being the villain very well. Some NBA players, you can be the villain, you can be the bad guy, you can embrace it, it can motivate you. Did not motivate Dillon Brooks very well. So relax a little bit. There's still talent for him. There's still a role for him in the NBA. So if the Pistons can hire not Kevin Ollie and get a good head coach and add some more pieces, I do think Dillon Brooks would actually fit with them next season.